And welcome into Gator Bytes on the 1010XL.com podcast network, also being simulcast on the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page. Today's Gator podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. They're Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center, providing an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. That includes Riverside, Northside, the South Side, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. He is Denny Thompson. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. Since we last joined you, the Gators have a brand new basketball coach. The Gators have one less quarterback in their quarterback room on the roster. And apparently, Anthony Richardson has looked very good at spring practice. So we got a lot to get into. Denny, we'll start with your specialty, man. You're the quarterback guy. And let's begin with the quarterback that's no longer there, Emory Jones, after what, I guess 3 spring practices, decided to officially enter the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think he decided that before the spring practices.
I thought it was weird that he went out for a couple of practices, though.
I think it was one of those things where the staff came in and wanted to see him, sold him on it. Listen, he's on campus, right? He's there. It's like, hey, come on out. Let's kind of see where this landscape is in the quarterback room. And Emory's a fantastic leader. He's a good locker room guy. He's like a good energy guy. And so I'm sure the staff want him out there. And I don't know this for sure, but I would think that Emory gets out there and he's like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not going to be here.
Right.
He made that known back in, December. Why don't I just get this process moving? And, now he's about to get his degree. I think he's got, a couple more weeks left. And then he can kind of move on. So I think it was probably just more of one of those things where nothing happened at practice. I just think everybody was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, we gave it a try. Let's all move on.
How will, not to get too sentimental here or anything, but 5 years from now, you talk to a Gator fan, you say the name Emory Jones. How will he be remembered?
Unfairly. I think unfairly. Unfair. Like we said that about Felipe too, but I think this is different.
Felipe had the throw against Tennessee, the Hail Mary or the long post, whatever you want to call it. He had memories. I'm not sure if Emory had memories like Felipe.
Felipe also had multiple coaches.
Yeah.
Right? All that kind of stuff. Emory was the guy that Dan Mullen signed.
His first big-time recruit. Yeah.
Right. And then I think, he waited his turn behind Felipe and behind Kyle. And then when it was his turn, for the most part, the football program had turned largely dysfunctional. No fault of his. Right. And so then you go out there, and if you think back to the first couple of games, it wasn't like he was playing poorly. It was everybody was enamored with Ant because of the runs and the splash plays. And then you get to Alabama, and Emory plays fantastic. Has a really good game, and dang near wins that game. And then you go to Kentucky, and you have the offsides penalties, and you have, all this kind of stuff, and he makes a couple of really bad decisions, really bad reads. And then it just kind of went, it was, hot and cold from there. I know Emory, and Emory is a great young man, like a really good guy. And I hope he lands somewhere that lets him just do what he does best. And real quick, also think back to the plays that Emory made when Kyle was there, right? Like the plays, and even Felipe a little bit he played. He made big plays.
I think back to the Auburn game where Trask had to leave for like a quarter or whatever it was, and Emory kept the Gators' head above water in that game.
I think LSU. Now, they lost the game, but LSU in Death Valley, which was like 28-28 at halftime or something crazy like that. Emory made some huge plays. I think he threw a touchdown. And so I'm not defending. I get the Gator fans that are, that are ready to move on from Emory. I get that. I completely get it, and I don't disagree with it at all. But I think he's a better player than what we want to say. He's not a first-round draft pick like people put the expectations. He didn't put those expectations out there.
Right.
But he's going to go somewhere, and he's going to be a really good player. He's going to go to a big school, I think.
Well, that leads me to my next question. I mean, are we talking – well, you say big school, so we're not talking 1AA. Are we talking group of 5, potentially another Power 5? I mean, what do you see there?
I think the way this transfer portal is going, I think guys like Emory and JT Daniels, and I just went through it with Austin Reed from West Florida, who ultimately picked Western Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Austin had huge opportunities, like big schools. that people think have like their quarterback stuff worked out, but we're still coming after Austin.
Didn't the Western Kentucky quarterback last year throw for like 1 billion yards?
And Austin went up there and realized, hey, I got 2 years, and they got a guy, but I feel like I can beat him out, and it's a good system. And I only bring that up because I think that's what Emory's going to have to do. I think Emory's going to get opportunities to play Power 5 ball, but he's going to have to make that decision of, okay, what do I want out of these last 2 years of my career? Do I want to play? I've been at the place that plays in the SEC, all that kind of stuff. Do I want to do that again? Or do I want to go somewhere where I can develop on the field through checks, reads, that kind of stuff on my own? And so I think he'll have that choice to make. I don't know where he'll land, but I think he'll have plenty of both to decide on.
Today's Gator Bytes podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. For the highest quality care, you can rely on Southeast Orthopedic Specialist for any orthopedic injury or concern. You can log on to their website by going to se-ortho.com, and you can listen to Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, the good doctor, Kevin Murphy, on Thursday mornings in the 7 o'clock hour with Jeff and Dan right here on 1010XL for his weekly analysis of injuries in sports. Emory Jones out. You'll go to the Gator quarterback room as it stands. You got a freshman coming in, but for the here and now, it's Jalen Kidna, it's Carlos Del Rio, it's Jack Miller, it's Anthony Richardson. Obviously, it appears to be Anthony's job. People might be fighting for the backup spot. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I think the way you just named it, you probably did it on purpose, goes 4-1, right?
Yeah.
And I think 2, 3, and 4 are all battling it out. And then once you kind of find out from there, then there's some decisions that have to be made both on the Florida side and the player side.
Let me ask you, Kidna, Del Rio, Miller, because we'll talk about Anthony in a moment. Of the other three, you're the quarterback guy. It's what you do for a living, man. Who do you like out of those three?
Listen, they couldn't be more different, all three of them. If you're building an offense around Anthony and his skill set, I'm a big proponent of you want a backup that's similar, right?
Right.
You want that dynamic. And
which Florida's had problems with that in recent years.
They have.
You go from Felipe Franks to Kyle Trask. That was very different.
Well, but if you think about it, when Felipe got hurt, we all thought it'd be Emory.
Right.
Right. And then they kind of threw us curveball with Kyle. And obviously they knew what they were doing. But I think if you want that skill set that Anthony has, I think Carlos is the closest thing to it. I think Del Rio's the closest thing to it. And I think, he struggled a little bit last year, but I think he in spring has taken a nice step. But you also didn't bring Jack Miller in. I can promise you Jack Miller had other choices.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to Gainesville because he felt like, okay, I'm going to get a chance to play there. Not this year, because Anthony may be a one-and-done guy, like at this point. But I don't know, like, what was said to him, what was promised to him. He may be the default backup, right? And so then you got to look at Jalen and Carlos, and you got to look at them and say, okay, are they both going to stay? What's going to happen there? But I think to put them in order right now would be, I haven't seen enough. It would be really, really tough.
And Jack Miller, people forget, former Ohio State commit, 4-star guy, certainly was very, very acclaimed coming out of high school, and now he has another opportunity at Florida. That leads us to Anthony Richardson. And you know Anthony. You've trained Anthony for many years. I always remind people, Denny Thompson was the first person that I knew in Jacksonville, Florida, that knew who Anthony Richardson was. You told me 5 years ago about this junior at Gainesville East Side that turned out to be Anthony Richardson. So you know him better than anybody that I know. How has he looked? Have you had conversations with him? What's the story there?
Yeah, we talk, almost daily right now. And he was in for a while over spring break. He looks fantastic. He looks smooth. He looks comfortable. I appreciate that this staff recognizes the talented thrower that he is, because I've been beating that drum for forever. And I also appreciate that this staff knows how smart he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying the other staff didn't know those things, but at times I felt like they thought they could use this quarterback for this and this quarterback for that. And to me, that seems silly because Anthony does everything. Anthony throws as well as just about anybody that's come through Gainesville. He's obviously probably the most athletic quarterback that they've had there, maybe ever. I mean, Tebow obviously was a hell of a runner, but I don't think anybody would classify him as a burner athlete type deal, right?
They just run you over.
Right. So I'm not saying he's ahead of Tebow with that. He does it all, and I think he's, cleaning the knee up, that whole thing helped him a ton. He's out there without a brace. I mean, think about that. The guy had MCL surgery in December. MCL was detached, okay? Like, not on anything, and he played the FSU game that way. And then has the surgery, and the guy's such a freak that he's already, what I thought was going to happen was we're going to do a return to throw program, like all this kind of stuff in the facility. We'd walk through spring practice, try to be ready in the summer. Dude, he's out there full speed.
Yeah.
Full speed, and looks fantastic. So I think there was, my personal opinion, he hadn't said this, seeing the way he's moving, I think that there were more limitations on him than he realized due to injuries before.
And he was doing backflips before a game.
Well, that's just, and that's Ant. Like that, he's just, when he comes in the facility, he's just that guy. Right. He's just that athlete. He's just that, he's so explosive.
But the point is, though, he's doing backflips and all that stuff.
With no MCL.
With the injured knee.
Yeah, and hamstring.
Yeah.
Hamstring. No, it's crazy. And then the other real quick thing I want to point out about Anthony, because this is maybe the most impressive thing. He's so gracious. He's so, what's the word? The best example I can give is he was in for spring break, and sometimes the guy will be in, and there's another side to our facility that has basketball. And there's like this overlook at our facility. And so sometimes we'll get this thing where the basketball people will see who's training in the football. And then when we walk out the door, there's like a crowd of people waiting for whoever it is to come out. It was 10 o'clock at night. It was 10:30. We'd been in there literally all day since like noon. And that dude sat there and took pictures and signed autographs with every single kid and parent that wanted it.
Wow.
And I'm looking at him like, yo, dude, I got to lock up. We got to get the hell out of here. But that's just who he is. Right? He doesn't mind it. He likes it. He enjoys it. He's still rooted in his own world, and he's still very loyal to those people. But he is a great ambassador for the University of Florida. He's got everything it takes to be a superstar, not just here, but in the next league too. Not
trying to be the negative guy or the glass half empty guy, but I think you hope for the best, you plan for the worst. My concern now, because of Anthony, and there were some injury problems last year, now there is no Emory Jones. You are one ankle sprain away, or you are one hamstring away, or whatever, to having to throw somebody in there that has never played a down of college football.
Sure.
So that's a scary thought, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you sat back and you thought about it, that's the case everywhere. Alabama has that.
Yeah.
Georgia, to the large degree, has. Carson took like 20-something snaps, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
I think that's the situation. I think that's where coaching comes into play.
And I guess that's odd because last year, as much as people wanted to see Anthony Richardson, well, if Emory Jones went in there, we were going to be fine.
You were comfort. Yeah, there was a comfort.
But now that Emory's gone, it's like, wow, okay, if Anthony does sprain his ankle in the middle of the second quarter against Utah, then you are talking about throwing a quarterback in there that's never played.
Look at FSU.
Yeah.
Can you even tell me who their quarterback is?
No, they better hope Jordan Travis stays healthy.
Right? Like I think that's just, it's like the ideal situation in some ways, because that lets you know that you have a starter with experience. And you haven't had to go that deep in your quarterback room. But I get what you're saying, especially since Anthony has been more injury prone. But, that's why these coaches make the money they do. You got to have the other guy ready.
Yeah. We'll see, obviously, what happens. They're in week 2 of spring ball. The orange and blue game is less than a month away. By the way, before we get into the basketball, Thursday night for Billy Napier. It's interesting.
Love it.
Is that an SEC network thing for the spring game? I would have to think there was a TV-related element to that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the other thing. It's a recruiting thing. This time of year is super busy with Nike opening camps, Elite 11 camp, 7-on-7 stuff, things like that. Those things you travel on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
You play in them on Saturday. So I think on some level, like, okay, cool, we'll do Thursday night, and we'll be able to capture those people. And nobody else having their spring game on Thursday night. So we don't have to compete with this kid going to Athens or this kid going to Tallahassee or Tuscaloosa. They can come here first.
Yeah.
Right? So I think I love it. I hope they make it a regular tradition. I think it benefits the program in a lot of ways.
You got me thinking about Napier really quick. I promise we're going to get to Todd Golden in 1 second. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Every day, this 4 stars visiting Gainesville, this 5 stars visiting Gainesville. I had a Gator fan ask me, so I'll ask you. He thinks it's great that all these guys are getting on campus. He thinks it's wonderful. Guys are even getting crystal balled to Florida on 247sports.com. Do we need to see one of these big visit guys, 4 or 5 star guys, commit to Florida to get uber excited? It's one thing to get them on campus. None of them have actually committed yet. Now, we're early in the process, but what do you tell Gator fans to see all these people visiting, but yet the commitments haven't been there yet?
I think you just said it. It's a process.
It is a process. But keep in mind, you're much more in it than the average fan.
No.
The average fan sees all these visits, but they see people committing elsewhere and nothing to Florida.
Well, I think, just put yourself as a parental role to a kid that's taking a visit to Florida right now. Like you go, you like what you see, you like the energy, but you don't know what you see. The indoor's not done yet, or the football-only facility's not done yet. They haven't played a game. The staff hasn't played a game.
Right.
So you're largely off of hype, which is largely what recruiting is. But when you match hype with results, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, now you're getting somewhere. So I think, you got to look at this and you got to say, okay, well, the hype and the enjoyment of the visit is there. The players currently there are talking good about the program again, the nutrition, all that kind of stuff. The results aren't there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can tie those results in, and they're going to get a chance early next year. Tennessee is going to be good next year. Utah is a good program next year, right? Kentucky is going to be back next year.
It's a tough schedule.
3 of your first 4 games, that's it, right? Like those are 3. So you come out of that with 3 wins, 4 wins. Now you're starting to tie results to it, and then I think it would be fair to say, okay, we've had all these guys on campus. Why aren't we getting some commitments?
Yeah, we'll see. But again, you got to get them on campus first.
That's right.
And Billy Napier is getting them to visit Gainesville. Today's Gator Podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, the Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center. They provide an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations. That's in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. And that includes Riverside, Northside, the South Side, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. All right, as we wrap up, Mike White to Georgia. That was odd, right? Mike White just up out of the blue to Georgia.
That's about right.
Whether Florida wanted to keep him or not, I get the vibe that Florida wasn't heartbroken that he left. That's the vibe I get. I certainly wasn't heartbroken that he left. I understand there's the old guard Gator fan that says, well, you win 20 a year. That's good enough. We're never going to get another Billy Donovan. Why you're running guys off all the time? My response to that is he was there 7 years. And in year 7, they were clearly worse than they were when he was there in year 2.
He's the girlfriend that you like but don't love.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
They were clearly going down.
No,
the red arrow was pointing down.
No, I'm saying like he's the girlfriend that's like, okay, it's cool, yeah, we're together, but if she leaves me tomorrow, that's cool too.
Yeah,
like I think I can do better, but I got this one.
I get it.
That's what he is. That's exactly what he was.
The nice guy. Yeah, he does a good job. School likes him.
And then she went to the guy with like lower expectations, right? And now like. She's a 10 to him.
Yeah.
She was a 7 to me.
Right.
Like, that's what it is.
I think it's a great analogy. And I wish Mike White well. I have no ill will towards the man. I just got tired of going 20-12, being a 9 seed, maybe winning 1 tournament game, and then losing in the second round.
Now
5 years without a Sweet 16.
Now, here's the problem, though, if we're going to stay on the same analogy. Like, we may have just, like, let that girlfriend go and hooked up with the girl who's, like, we think she's better, but
no, that's fair. And I think
you're going to be rolling the dice here.
You were going to have that situation in any regard. Todd Golden has to come in and he has to win. There is no question about that. Todd Golden has to come in and he has to surpass what Mike White did, or else you're going to look like an idiot with egg on your face for firing Mike White. Not firing.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I don't think in any case you look like an idiot. I think.
Well, you're going to look like an idiot if you are a 500 basketball team, which Mike White was better than that.
I think
if Mike White's beating you every year, you're going to look like an idiot.
That's true. That's not going to happen. I think if you go 20-12, 18-14, whatever, then at that point, I think we just kind of have to sit back and go, wow, Billy Donovan was really freaking good.
Yeah.
And this is just what Florida basketball is. Like, I think on some level, like, that's just kind of where it's at right now.
Well, I do think, though,
by the way, the O-Dome's terrible. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, we talk about the facilities from a football perspective all the time. You look at Arkansas. Like, I'm from Arkansas, so I've got, I pull for them. I know about them. Bro, the amount of money they invest in basketball in Arkansas is unbelievable. Their facilities are unbelievable.
Bud Walton Arena holds like 20,000 people.
Look at Kentucky. Look at all the people that we, in football, we compete with Clemson and Georgia and Alabama, and we always talk about this, but we don't talk about it in football, in basketball.
But Auburn's arena is no better than the O'Connell Center.
You know that?
Alabama's
well,
arena.
You know that?
I've seen the outside of Auburn's arena. I've never been inside, but I see it on TV. It's a 9,000, 10,000 seat arena.
So is Duke's. But their practice facilities unflipping real.
Yeah. The practice facility for the basketball team was 2016.
Yep.
So it's 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You would think at some point you'll have to have a conversation there.
Well, I think in some cases, that sounds weird, but the football-only facility is going to help basketball recruiting.
Yeah, I agree. Because they're going to use that for all the student athletes, right? Isn't that what they said?
It's a football-only facility, isn't it?
I thought that, certain aspects of it, but I want to say whether it's Strickland or somebody talking about that building is that student athletes are welcome to come in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a student athlete lounge and things like that.
Okay. And then I think, aren't they doing new dorms? Haven't they announced new dorms? I think that kind of stuff when you talk about basketball facilities is probably more relevant than when you talk about football facilities. But again, I mean, I don't think any of us are asking Florida to be a top 5 program, though.
No. I'm asking Florida to not be the 9 seed in your own conference tournament.
Right.
After 7 years.
And an SEC, by the way, that we're finding out wasn't really that good.
No.
Like you look at the SEC or the NCAA tournament and they got rocked.
So here's the thing, though. All right. So you hired Todd Golden. Who is Todd Golden? I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. I had no idea who this guy was. I saw San Francisco play play Wichita State. He went to St. Mary's. I saw San Francisco play Wichita State in round 1 of the NCAA tournament last Thursday. Why was I watching that game? Because I was watching for Mike McMahon, the Wichita State head coach.
You mean Murray State.
Or Murray State. Yeah, Murray State. Yeah. I was watching for Mike McMahon, the Murray State head coach, because I was curious about him. They were 30-2 this year. But when I'm watching that game, I see this guy on the sideline that's super young, running up and down the baseline, giving the referees the business, really getting after it. I'm like, well, who is this cat? And I looked it up. It was Todd Golden. I had no idea that 48 hours later, Todd Golden would be the brand new head coach at the University of Florida. And I'm like, well, why did they hire a guy from the West Coast? And then you obviously look, he assisted under Bruce Pearl at Auburn. He's familiar with the SEC. He has head coaching experience, 3 years in San Francisco, got them back to the tournament for the first time in 2 decades. On paper, it looks like they might have hired the next Billy Donovan from Marshall, like Todd Golden is from San Francisco. Will we have Billy's career at Florida? Highly, highly doubtful. But Florida and Scott Strickland obviously likes the up-and-coming guy. Billy Napier, 42 years old of Louisiana. Todd Golden, 36 years old from San Francisco.
I think when ADs make a hire, they don't look at 1 year, they look at 10. And I've heard, I don't remember which AD told me this, or I would give them credit for it, but they said, like, once you're in that tenure and you realize, or you don't see that guy there in 10 years, then you need to start looking.
Yeah.
Like, we talked joking about, the whole Mike White thing. I don't think anybody saw Mike White there for 10 more years.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So I think, the youth probably is that. But, I mean, the reality with all coaching searches at all leagues and all levels is you don't know. You really don't know. It's an educated guess at the best, right? So outside of that, you have no idea how any of this stuff's going to work out. You hope for the best. And I hope for the best with this. I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know anything about recruiting in the SEC and transfer portal and basketball and all that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about it.
He apparently is big into the international flavor too, which again, I don't know what that necessarily means, but you see teams like Auburn and Tennessee, they have big men from Europe, and those big men from Europe play well. I would welcome that at this point. It's something different. And Todd Golden learned under Bruce Pearl. He coached with Bruce Pearl for 3 years.
Yeah.
Hey, say what you will, and we talk about this, and you know this, we've talked about it in football. You hate to say it, but it's the reality. You can't beat them, you join them.
Listen, Bruce Pearl got another job after Tennessee.
Yeah.
And has done well. So obviously what he did was not that bad.
No.
I mean, it's so...
And now he's getting any recruit he wants at Auburn,
right?
Which is kind of interesting.
Right.
But,
hey, I mean, go get your wins.
Yeah.
Go get your natties. Like, at some point, if it explodes, it explodes. I mean...
And I'm not saying Bruce Pearl taught Todd Golden how to get into the mud and do things that aren't very sportsmanlike for college basketball head coaches. Bruce Pearl's had a lot of success. And Todd Golden was with him for 3 years at an SEC basketball school.
We've seen this. We've seen coaches in college basketball go and sign the top recruits and still not win. Like, there is a second part to that job. Huh?
Mike White?
Well, Mike White. I mean, Georgia signed the number one recruit.
Georgia signed Anthony Edwards, and they were totally average.
Right. I mean, Kentucky the last couple years. I mean, we've seen these schools bring in these big
Oscar
classes.
Tshiebwe had 30 and 16 against St. Peter's, and they lost.
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, there's recruiting, there's coaching. You got to have both.
Yeah. Look, man, I'm happy Mike White's gone. Nothing personal, but I was tired of seeing Groundhog Day every single year. Like I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I've learned about Todd Golden in the last 7 days. I learned actually at the press conference. Not this is a Gator topic. They asked him about Bill Russell, and if he knows Bill Russell because he coached at San Francisco. He said, "Nah, Bill Russell and the university, they're kind of weird. They don't really associate with one another anymore. But Bill Cartwright, he was around all the time, and I got to hang out with Bill Cartwright a bunch. So that was just kind of an aside that Todd Golden's been around some pretty big heavyweights in the basketball game. I know he's bringing an assistant with him from San Francisco. Final thought. Apparently he's very into the analytics. As a coach, whether it's football or any sport, you're a pretty young guy, like a Golden, like a Napier. That seems to be the trend to get these analytic type guys. Do you agree with that?
It should be. It should be. Analytics is data, and if you ignore data, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot if you ignore data. I mean, whether it's through things like we do motion capture with all of our guys, and it's not cheap to do, right? But we need that to find out multiple things about guys, how their body works, what moves, is what we're doing working. Like if we do motion capture in August and we do it again in January, which we wouldn't do, but just give an example, then are we really making them better? And so, I mean, I think analytics is a very similar set of data. It's like, okay, this and this and this equals this. And it happens 70% of the time. So why would I ignore that? And I just think we're getting to the old school said, well, it's all a feeling. I know what I'm doing. It's a feeling. You know what? Your feelings were only right 45% of the time. Analytics is right 70% of the time.
Yeah.
And if you can't put that to the side, then you probably don't need to be in the game.
We'll see what happens. He's 36 years old. He looks like he's about 25. But I'll tell you this. It's hard to lose a press conference. And I'm not trying to get too over the top, but watching that 30-minute press conference he had earlier in the week, I like a lot of what he said. A lot of what he said resonated, including with Gator fans.
I didn't watch it.
Well, at the end, he basically said, you should have high expectations here. You should not be middle of the road here. That should not be your expectation. And I think people that supported Mike White started being okay with the fact that they were going to be a middle of the road SEC team. That is not what the expectation should be for a program that has 2 national championships.
Did he say that his dog could play point guard?
He did not say that.
Okay.
He did not pull a Jim McElwain.
Then.
Did not do that.
Did he come out in a Darth Vader mask?
Did not do that either.
We got a winner.
Did not do that either. He is Denny Thompson. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. Thank you for watching and listening to Gator Bytes. We'll be back next week. Spring football will be another weekend, and we'll have a Final Four next week. You're an Arkansas guy.
I am.
Big win last night over Gonzaga. And again, we're recording this before the Elite Eight. Coach K and Duke, you like their chances?
There's a history, man.
There is a history.
There's a great history between Arkansas and Duke. They've played some phenomenal tournament games. I like Arkansas's chances a lot.
Make sure the game's not close under a minute to go. That's all I'm going to say.
I got you.
Because the referees, the fairy tale ending for Coach K.
Yeah, but Coach K's got
Duke's going to get some calls. Duke got some calls last night.
Did you see him on the sideline last night? Like, dude, chill.
Well, it'll be fun. By the way, Arkansas, the only SEC team left in the NCAA tournament. Denny, Graham, I'm Hacker. Thank you for listening and watching Gator Bytes on 1010XL.com.